What is going on, folks? So we're gonna try something new with with a video here and see how you guys like it. We're gonna do a little narration of kind of what happened during the tournament, what we threw, the things we did, stuff like that. So I'm gonna mute the video and then kind of talk over it and just kind of walk you through the day and or both days and kind of talk about what went well, what didn't go well, what we used, what our plans were, stuff like that. So if you like it and you like this format, go ahead and drop me a like, give me a comment on what you think, and let me know. This could be a fun thing to do with the tournaments going forward. Who knows? So let me know what you think. We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy the video, guys. All right, so to start off, this is the beginning of day one. And during practice, both of our practice sessions, we threw a lot of topwater and caught a ton of fish topwater fishing, mostly throwing buzzbaits. And there was just something different about the day of the tournament from the day of practice. And I guess that's not uncommon for things to happen like that. But it was really surprising that we could barely get a sniff at anything topwater. It could have been the wind. It did get pretty windy. And we had a little bit of a later draw than I would have liked, so we got to our spot a little bit later, but it just, something was off with the topwater bite that morning. So we threw it for a while, kind of committed to it as much as we could, and then I just decided, you know what, I got to change up. It started to get a little bit more windy. I felt like, hey, maybe we can get a play on a spinnerbait. The water was a little bit cloudy. Obviously the wind caters a little bit more to throwing a spinnerbait because they can't really see it. They're just reacting. So we started throwing that for a while, and I really felt like if we committed to the spinnerbait, we could catch a decent bag of fish. So that's pretty much what we did for, the first, pretty much all day. I mean, we threw a few other things there throughout the day, but pretty much spinnerbait was the winner on this first day. Until a little bit later on. So we threw that spinnerbait around a little bit, and I think we had two in the boat at this point in time, 1 3-pounder and one little dink. So we that spot that we were at the beginning of the video was the spot I thought we were going to start at, but I was one tuft of grass too far. So I turned the boat around and went back because we got in there a little bit and it didn't look familiar. So if anybody has ever fished potholes that's watching this, when the water's up, it covers up a lot of land, and it can get real confusing in there a little bit when you're back in the dunes. And I got a little bit turned around, so I started in the wrong spot. And that might have been part of it too. So we motor up here to the other section of water where I thought... where we actually started and fished a lot during practice. Again, it's still pretty windy, and I just couldn't get anything to happen. So now you can see the wind's picked up quite a bit more. So I figured I'm going to put a shaky head on, half-ounce head, get it down to the bottom quickly. What I've got on there is a Reaction Innovation. It's called the Blank Check. I felt like if I could get that down and just drag it across the bottom, giving it some shakes, we could maybe get something to happen. I don't know why, just something told me that that this might be the answer. So this is the first cast, no bites, and I'm a pretty impatient guy, and I'm not a real big finesse fisherman, but I knew I could probably make something happen. So something told me to target this weed edge right up here where all this grass is. So I tossed it in there, and it lands right in the middle of some grass. And right now he's already got it, and I don't know it. So I pulled back, and you can see him start to tug back on the rod there. And as soon as I know it, I'd hit him. And he was a tank. He was almost 4 pounds. I think he weighed 389 or something. But it was a good change up. And turned out to get 2 key fish off of that shaky head this first day. So my buddy gets down and nets it, and I was pretty jacked. He was a good fish. Like I said, he was about 4 pounds, a little bit less. And took it right in the top of the lip, just perfect. And so, now I've got we've got 3 or 4 fish in the boat, or three fish, I think, or maybe 2 at this point. I don't remember. But I was feeling pretty good, and I felt like, this was the right switch. So I stuck with it for a little while, and then decided we better get some cull tags on these guys and weigh them. So get the scale out and start pulling fish out. So I think this first one was, I think this guy here was like 171 or 141. Not big. Definitely needed to, obviously I can't hang on to him either. Definitely needed to get rid of that guy by the end of the day. And I think this day we didn't. I think we weighed that fish in. He also wouldn't hold still. He was quite annoying. If you're wondering how I'm staying there, I don't have any power pulls. But I've got the Minn Kota Ulterra on the bow of the boat. So I have it spot locked right there. And spot lock, if you've never used it, is probably one of the most fantastic tools. Power pulls are nice, but I really enjoy having that spot lock. So this was one of the 4-pounders. I think he was 323 or something. I don't know. I don't remember. But a pretty decent fish. One you don't mind taking to the weigh-in, right? But you do need that kicker fish. And that's what we didn't get that first day, was a kicker fish. So I write down his weight, get him on the cull tag. I've switched cull tags now. Those are all right. They're made by TH Marine. But the new ones that I've got are fantastic. So I think that first one was, I think that one was 323, and the first one was 141. And then this next guy was, I think 389 or something. He was another tank. And again, another fish you don't mind weighing in. So if you're wondering why the water bottles, I had a cooler full of frozen water bottles. It was warm out, even with all that wind. And I really wanted to make sure, live well care for me is super important. So I wanted to make sure that the fish are as healthy as they can at weigh-in. I try and keep the water temperature about 10 degrees colder than the water they came out of. Keeps them calm. The blue is because I use G-Juice. I've just had great luck with it. Didn't lose a fish all year long. So it was awesome. So here's another one. Same thing, shaky head. Got the fish weighed in. Maybe 10 casts total between that big one I caught and then this one here. And this one was just a shade over 3 pounds too. So there he's on there, and I hit him again, and another good fish. So the reel I'm using is what is that reel? I don't remember what the reel is, but the rod is an FX custom rod, 7'4" shaky head rod. Tons of sensitivity, full cork grips, great backbone. Like, you can really drive the hook home on these things. And one of my favorite spinning rods by far. So you can see another good fish. I think he was about 3 pounds, 289 I think is what he actually weighed, if memory serves me correct. So we get a weight on him and get him tagged and in the water, and then we get ready to head into weigh-in. I don't think we caught much more after that. That was anything astronomical that I recorded, so I just cut that out of this part of the video. But again, we're just dropping that shaky head down in, 10 to 12 feet of water, and just popping it and shaking it across the bottom. And it just turned out to be one of the tickets for the day. We did catch a few on the spinnerbait, but I think they were pretty little. We weighed in 5 fish that first day. The weight will pop up here in a second. Yeah, see, that was 275 or something. So we're going up for not quite the weigh-in yet. We try the shaky head again up in this grass, but it was so thick I just couldn't quite get it through clean. And as much as I tried, I just couldn't get it done. So I didn't give it too long in this spot. just like I said, I just kept getting caught up. But a lot of our focus was on the edges of these grass piles. A lot of the fish were tucked up tight to it, and we were picking them off, during practice with buzz baits, and then later in the day, somewhere around the 1 o'clock hour, we were throwing spinner baits at them, and we were getting them to eat pretty good. But today, for some reason, in this spot, it wasn't the same. Like I said, I don't know if it was the wind or what the big change was, but man, we just could not get them to commit. And I know they were still in there, but I think maybe the wind pushing out of there, or maybe it was a front that came in. Who knows? It was a little bit cloudier during practice, and that can help a little bit. But you never really know what a fish is going to do come tournament day. You can pretend to have things all figured out, and once the tournament comes, yeah, you realize you're not real smart. So we give it a few more minutes in this little spot here, and then we get out of there. Pretty sure the weigh-in is fairly soon. It's hard to remember. But again, see, I cast out there, and just immediately I'm tangled up in the grass, and you try and shake it through that stuff, but admittedly, the head I was using on those shaky heads wasn't the slickest head to use. It doesn't move through grass very easy, so it makes it a little bit tough. But it is what it is. You live and you learn. So I toss behind me because there's a little bit less weeds back there, but I still got nothing out of that deal. And they were piled up along all this grass during practice. We caught a couple good ones right in that spot, and then we caught a few more back a little bit farther. My partner during practice caught a few back there farther. So now we're back to the spinnerbait. We're throwing it off the edge of a grass point here, kind of where the wind's blowing into it. I felt like the wind coming in would probably push something in, and it only took a few casts, and I catch a monster right here. I mean, it is a giant. I'm about to set the hook on him. Yep, there he is. And he is a toad. I'm just kidding, he's little. Like 10 ounces. But I think that was our 5th fish. So, you get a little bit more comfortable and a little bit more confident when you have 5 in the live well. So, this part of the video is actually from practice. I screwed up, and somehow this got put into the final cut of the tournament video, but this one I caught on a frog in the lily pads, and he was just a little over 5 pounds, or a little under 5 pounds, whatever it was. Yeah, caught him in a bunch of lily pads. There's a huge lily pad bed over there, and so I spent probably 2 or 3 hours during practice trying to figure it out, and missed a bunch. Didn't get a lot of hookups, and that's sometimes the problem with frogs, is you struggle on the hookup ratio. But we were able to pull a couple out of there, so this is the weigh-in. He's trying to hand me the slip, and I'm telling him I don't need it. So we're going up to weigh in our first day catch. We're one of the first ones in. Made it right at maybe a couple minutes before our weigh-in time, but our first day's weight was somewhere around 13.5 pounds, which we knew going into it that's not going to get it done, but we weigh a big fish here just to weigh it. Everybody oohed and awed right there when I pulled it out. And by everybody, I mean my mom did. He's asking me if I want some pictures afterwards, and of course, got to have something to commemorate the event. So we weighed that one, and I think it was 389 or something, or 411 or whatever it was. I don't remember now. I think it was 389. So we're going to weigh the rest of them, and it comes in right at about 13 pounds, I think. 1333 or 13 83. Not the day we wished, but you can't always get what you want. So you just deal with what you have. So it's kind of a recap of the day. Spinnerbaits, buzzbaits, ploppers, and shaky heads. I kind of screwed up there because I didn't throw any ploppers. Oh, day 2 I did too. Never mind, I did. I also threw the swim bait day 2. So here we start out with the spinnerbait. I just felt like, or the buzzbait, sorry. I just felt like with the way the weather was the second day, slick, calm, same conditions as practice, I felt like we could get some good bites on a buzzbait. And I did a little bit right away that morning, but I missed, I think, both the fish that I had. So got a little breezy, so I pulled the spinnerbait back out. And we pretty much lived on that spinnerbait for the entire second day. I threw it religiously. So we got that little guy, and I think that was the second or third one of the day. I didn't get the one that Jason caught on camera. We caught a 3 or 3.5 pounder right away that morning. Jason did. I think he caught a 3 pounder right away that morning. All these spinnerbaits that I'm throwing are, we've got a trailer on there. It's a swim snack made by Crazy Hick Bait Company. They work really, really well as trailers. And then I like to throw them on swim bait heads too. So we're kind of coming up around the edge of a grass line here. And again, I'm sticking to that spinnerbait because, that thing, I just knew it was going to produce fish. And I felt like it would produce the right fish, even though it wasn't perfect spinnerbait weather. So here I get another good one on. I caught him off the edge of a lump of grass. It's a giant, like huge. He was like a pound, maybe 1.5 pounds. Not big. I kid a lot. But the next ones we catch are giants. Not giants, but we catch some really good ones. So again, we're just kind of skirting around this weed patch. And I think this was a surprise catch of the day. Maybe not. We came around a corner at some point during this tournament, and I catch a giant walleye. I think it is here. And I'm telling you, I thought this was a 10-pound largemouth. When I looked down in the water and saw the profile of this fish coming in, I thought for sure it was a winning fish. Like I figured for sure, big fish of the tournament. So I get it up here, and I'm like, oh, Jason, it's huge. And he gets the net, and oh no, it's not this one. This was, we were running a weed line that ran all the way out in the middle of the lake. And I was throwing a spinnerbait over this little pad of grass. And I kind of clacked the blades off the top of the water and saw him swirl. And I told Jason, I said, did you see that? And he goes, no. And I said, there's one right behind it. And then he smacks it. So he's about 3 pounds. And so I told Jason just to drop the net and get it, and cast out there. So Jason immediately casts. I don't even get another cast in, and Jason's got a fish on. So when I looked down at the fish that I caught, there was like 6 or 7, maybe even 8 largemouth with him. And they were all like 3 pound, 4 pound fish. So Jason catches this one, and this one's, a good 3.5 pounds. And so we kind of fight through these fish and just trying to get as many as we can. And I make some fairly poor decisions at this point. I should have stuck to the spinnerbait, really. I threw it for a while, and then I decided maybe I'll give them a little something different to look at. So I started throwing the whopper plopper a little bit. swim bait a little bit, and I couldn't get any love. Well, I go back to the spinnerbait after just a few minutes, and like first or second cast after going back to the spinnerbait, start nailing them again. So here it's I don't know, it's probably about 4 to 6 feet deep. Maybe some spots a little bit deeper. But there's a really good weed line that runs out in front, and then a submerged grass line just about where my trolling motor starts, out to where the weeds start. And so I just was trying to burn it across the top at times, trying to roll it right over the top of them, see if I can get something to come up. I tried a little bit of everything, and it seemed like when I'd burn that spinnerbait across the surface, the sound and maybe the flash of the blades breaking the water and slapping around, they ended up being the one trick that attracted the most fish, and we did all right. I think we caught, I don't know, we probably caught 5 or 6 out of this spot within 20 or 30 minutes. We got some really good ones. So here I'm going to the shaky head. This is where when I was talking about my patience earlier, this is what I was talking about. I give this thing like 2 casts and I give up on it. Even though it caught fish for me earlier the first day, I just didn't stick to the shaky head. And when they did grab it during day 2, they didn't seem to grab it with as much commitment. I got quite a few bites on it, but a lot of them were just grabbing the end of it. And I did lose one on the shaky head later on day 2 that was an absolute giant. And I have no idea how he got off. I tossed it on the edge of the weeds on the other side of where we're fishing right now. And he thumped it. And so I thumped him back. And a couple of shakes of the head and he was gone. So like I said there, I gave it, a cast, maybe 2. So now I'm going to whopper, I don't know what I'm throwing now, whopper plopper or jerkbait, one of the two. Whopper plopper. So I'm trying to burn this over the top of that grass, thinking, if they're liking those blades clacking on top of the water, this might get a few up, but it just didn't work out. So I throw it for a little while anyways. I'm throwing the whopper plopper on a 7-foot, 1-inch medium heavy flipping stick. I really like it for flipping, of course. I like it for the heavier top waters. It does a really nice job. It's still got a nice fast tip, and it's a moderate fast, I guess is what it is. It's a heck of a rod. I have it strung up with 60-pound braid. I don't use a leader on it. I just braid straight to the whatever I'm throwing. And I made a little modification to the whopper plopper. Because one of the issues I was having was body roll, and then it twists up the line after 20 or 30 casts. So what I do now, is just add a heavy duty swivel on it, and then it allows the plopper to turn over if it has to. If I'm cranking it too fast or whatever, it allows that plopper to turn over and not twist your line up, and it made a heck of a difference. So now I'm going to the jerkbait. I don't give it very long. Again, another 2 or 3 casts, just trying to give them something different that they haven't seen. And this particular jerkbait I'm throwing is a Lucky Craft pointer. I lost that one. A Lucky Craft pointer 110, I think is what it is. Either that or it's a 95R. They have a really unique action, loud rattle. Do a really good job of attracting fish. So again, the weeds were just a little too far up, and I kept getting snagged up with that one. It does dive a little bit deeper than your standard jerkbait. So I kept ticking the tops of the weeds and pulling them off. I think I give this, nope, I don't give it any more casts. And I think now I go back to the spinnerbait. Yeah. Back to the bread and butter. And I stick to this one for a while then. It doesn't take me long after I go back to the spinnerbait to get another one. You know, when we were out here during practice, you know, those are the spots you're looking for. The breaks in the weeds, the little pockets, places where they have some deeper water to run out to. You know, and if you go 15 feet behind us, the water gets back up to about 20 feet. So they've got plenty of time or plenty of places to run up on the flat, get some feeding in, run back down. You know, the only other thing that I wish I would have done is I wish I would have backed off the spot a little bit. I keep looking down because I keep marking fish below me, but apparently I'm too stubborn or too stupid to back off of that spot and drag that spinnerbait across that, you know, more of that flat where that sweet spot is. I just, for some reason, didn't do it. I think I was so enamored on the break in the weeds up there where I caught those, that first one, that I knew there was another fish there because I watched him swipe it. And so I got so enamored in trying to catch that one fish, I kind of ignored the ones that were below me, and they were all largemouth. You can see I was kind of keeping the rod tip up there right at the beginning of that cast. I was trying to pull it up over the top of those weeds. That one was a miss, and then I think he comes back and hits it again. Or he gets it on the next cast. Just checking to make sure it was all okay. So now I get it back up over the top of the weed. I'll drop the tip back down a little bit. Slow the reel down. And there he is. So this one wasn't huge. Again, about 2.5 pounds, maybe 3, but we're slowly building on what we had or the first day. And Jason was in mid-cast, so I just decided to net that one myself. And then I flipped the rod up by the camera. No big deal. So again, not a bad fish. Yeah, I think it was about 2 pounds. Sorry, folks, I'm getting a little bit of a cold. So now Jason's got one on. This was a good fish. I think this one was about 3.5 pounds. Jason had a really good tournament, especially the second day. I think 3 of the 5 fish we caught the second day, or that we weighed in the second day he had weighed in, were his. So it's another tank that was almost a 4-pounder. Caught it on a black and blue spinnerbait. So we got this dude weighed. Now here I switched up to a swim bait. Now we're on the other side of the of that weed line. We went all the way down the edge and then came all the way down the back side of it. And something just told me in this corner to throw a swim bait, and I wanted to go big, so I went with a 5.5-inch river to sea swim bait, and it only took a few casts, and I get this guy here, and this is another really good fish. When I pulled back on it, you know, when he hit it, it kind of just stopped. You didn't really smack it, and you know, you just kind of lean into him with the swim bait. You don't really need to slam the hook home. So I just kind of leaned into him and felt like he was in the weeds, and then I felt him tug back, and I was like, oh no, it's a good one. So I'm trying to get him to stop from jumping his butt out of the water there and get him up so Jason can net him. And there's another 4-pounder. I think he was about the same size as my other one, about 389 or 359 or 379, something like that. But another really good fish. You know, we found a pocket of them back there that had a really hard time leaving. So I just went around this patch of grass over and over and over all day. And every time we'd go past it, we'd catch a fish, and we'd go down, we'd catch another little one, and then we'd catch another little one, and then we'd come back around and catch another big one. So here I'm throwing that spinnerbait again. It's a little later in the day, and I get a giant. So I was freaking out, especially when I saw him come up. I was like, dude, it is a giant fish. And so get him up to the boat, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. Oh, no, this wasn't it either. It was just another smaller one. This is the one that capped off our limit. Or did I throw this one away? Nope, I threw this one away. So I weighed this guy. He doesn't cut the mustard, so I threw him away. And again, I'm in the same area. This is just flooded land. Potholes is a big irrigation ditch. So when the water's up, it floods all the grass back there, and it just gives bass just fantastic places to hide, lots of food, stuff like that. So there we go. Now, finally, I'll get it right this time. This is the big fish, and it's a good fish. I swear, when I looked down, I saw it. It was like 10 feet long. Ended up being not a bass, and you'll see Jason drops the net in disgust when I say it's a walleye. I'm angry, he's angry, everybody's angry. Big old walleye. I go walleye fishing all the time, and I have a hard time catching them when I'm fishing for them. But when I have not fished for them this year, I've done really well. I've caught some walleye on spinnerbaits, crankbaits, smile rigs. Caught a Chinook on a spinnerbait this year, or a steelhead. Just weird, but it's a good walleye. So we posed for a quick picture, just to share with the group, and I handed him my phone so we could take a quick snapshot. If it wasn't tournament day, he'd have been in my live well, folks. I promise you that. I don't keep a lot of fish, but I'll keep a walleye. And it's time to weigh in. Got a bigger bag than the day before, almost 16 pounds. We ended up finishing the tournament in 28th place, which really it wasn't that bad, considering how many boats were in the field. A little over 28 pounds, 28.83 for the 2 days. Good for 28th place, and lost by first place by 10.04 pounds. But I'll tell you what, anytime you can get out on the water during a tournament and you catch 30 pounds of fish, you give yourself a chance to win for sure. You just don't give yourself a chance to win on this lake. You have to have 20 pounds a day plus in order to even be in the running. If we'd have had one more 5-pounder, we'd have been in the money. We were just not far out. So Willie's telling me to go around to the camera up there because he's doing Facebook Live while I'm waiting at the tanks. That's my son. That is my daughter. Got the wife there. Mom is behind us, and my other daughter is back there running amok. So we come up, I bring those up, throw my number in because it's the last day of the tournament, and weigh another big fish at the end. I knew we didn't have one as big as the first day, but we weigh it for a tiebreaker anyways, just in case somebody else has one that could potentially tie us from a weight perspective overall. Big fish is used as a tiebreaker, and when it comes down to points, it's important that that we make it right. So just about done weighing in, and then we go over and get some pictures and stuff of the fish. So we're going to put them on the scale. It took a little while to weigh these guys because they would not quit flippy-flopping around. But I think day 2 we had 1533 or something, 1583, whatever it was. Everybody was laughing because the fish just would not stop. Like I said, live well care is important to me. Fish care is important to me, so I do everything I can. So there you go, 28.89, 10.04 pounds out of first. Moved up one more spot in Rookie of the Year. Thanks, guys.